I used to write pages of affirmations in a notebook. Like, I am wealthy. I am this. I am that. And like literally nothing changed. 0% things changed, but you put those suggestions into your brain when your brain is in that theta wave state. And it's just like there's not that negative or that negating of that part of your brain that's negating the affirmation. And it works so much better.
Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I'm your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. Welcome back, Mompreneurs, to another episode of the podcast. This is Martine, your host, your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this month, you get to hear from guests again. So January was a lot of me, and I hope you enjoyed those episodes. And you're still going to get to hear from me every single week on our Monday episodes. But today we have a Turquoise Talk guest, Jen Lemke. And we had a great conversation today, just talking about mompreneur life, talking about time management. And she's just one of those people, when you are talking to her, you feel like you could talk to her forever. She's just super fun. Her energy is amazing. And she talks about just a really pivotal moment in her life that changed everything. And so let me tell you a little bit about her so we can dive right in. She is a certified success coach, an NLP practitioner who helps ambitious women break through mindset blocks, unlock their potential, and take their life and business to the next level. She's known for her authentic and engaging approach and empowers women to stop self-sabotaging, take meaningful action, and create the success they've always dreamed of without, and here's the kicker, sacrificing time with the ones they love most. And you know, I'm all about that here on this podcast. So grab your earbuds, put that load of laundry in, and let's do this. Well, hey, mompreneurs, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited today. We have another amazing Turquoise Talk guest, Jen Lemke. So Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
So you and I are just kind of getting to know each other. We've done a little bit of, on social, and we kind of feel like we know people right on social media, but it's such a joy. We were just talking about being able to have like a real conversation and not in 15-minute segments on a story. Yeah. So give us not the 15-second version, but give us just a little bit more detail about you and, what you do and how you kind of got into entrepreneurship.
So back in Vietnam, no, I'm just kidding. I was an esthetician actually for 13 years. Okay. And at the end of my aesthetics career, I decided I want to get healthy and fit. And I joined this fitness challenge, and I ended up joining a network marketing company because I've got such great results from the fitness program. And so I had absolutely no plan to do anything with it. It was just kind of like a side hustle for extra money on the weekends. And 3 years down the road, I found my side hustle income overtaking my aesthetics income. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And it was a lot of fun. I was having a ton of fun. It was something different. It was like an outlet that apparently I needed. And then one day I woke up pregnant, and my then boyfriend, now husband, and I decided that it would make the most sense to retire from aesthetics. It was an hour-long commute as it was, and I didn't want to leave my newborn. And that's what I wanted anyway. I saw the whole glitz and the glam and the stage and all that kind of thing, and that's what I wanted. And so I retired from aesthetics, had my baby. I love him. He does not sleep well. He is 9 and he still does not sleep well. And so I was, I think it was 41. I was a 41-year-old newborn mom for the first time, thrown into this breastfeeding. And I was, I don't even think we were engaged yet. I was like, we had moved in with each other maybe 6 months before. I had, I was trying to be like the perfect, wife or whatever, trying to keep the house clean, the dishes and all these things, and run my network marketing business on these nap time hours. And people are
Yeah.
like, work on the cracks of your day. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? What crack are you speaking of? Because I don't see any cracks in the day.
Especially if you have a baby who's not sleeping. Like there really are
Oh,
nooks and crannies of time when you don't have a baby who's sleeping.
no. And then it's like, this nap time hustle. Like I wore that on my sleeve like a badge of honor. I'm like, okay, all right, I've got an hour. Let's go. And he would wake up and it just never, I just felt like, I remember feeling like I was just so underwater and the
Yeah.
work kept piling up and piling up and piling up. So then I felt myself like I prided myself on doing mindset work. Like I read all the books. I
Yeah.
was highlighting all the books. I was listening to all the podcasts on our walks. I was doing all the things. I was going to the events. And I just felt like, I don't know, it's like I woke up in the morning and it's like you read the books about the 5 a.m. club. I'm like, that's what I got to do. I got to be in the 5 a.m. club. So I get up at 5 a.m. Well, little homeboy gets up at 5:10. I'm like, okay, now my day's shot. And now I'm in a spiral because I can't get anything done. I got to wait for nap time. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'll work at night. So I had my glass of red wine
Yep.
and I sat down with my laptop on my lap at, 9 o'clock at night and I'm working till 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I got myself into this. I wasn't depressed, but it was not a fun period of time at all. I just could not figure out why this person over here had 5 kids and they were crushing. And I'm over here with one and I can't even see myself out of a paper bag.
Yeah.
And so I got an email one day in my inbox and it literally changed everything. It was a coach that I was following and he was saying all the right things. It's like I felt like he was in my head and I ended up hiring him because it was just like I was so in my own way and I didn't even know what to do anymore. And I was like literally desperate. I'm like, I have to do something. This is it. So I hired my first coach and literally it's like within 1 month, and this is no hyperbole, within 1 month, I stopped working my network marketing business. I had 2 years prior to that, I had found NLP, neuro linguistic programming, on a late night breastfeeding session, and I had signed up to become certified, but I couldn't find any time to go to the bathroom and shower, let alone do all these 180 hours of pre-work. So
Yeah.
within 1 month, I had gotten all the pre-work done. I went to the course and I got certified. I, got my first client. I made my first $1,000 in 1 month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the world was
Yeah.
I doing all those years? And like in 1 month, I was just so focused and intentional. And now I'm like, I have to help people get out of their way because we have blind spots. Just as, mompreneurs and just a human being, we have blind spots that we can't see. And it's
Yeah.
like we're in like this bubble. And we were, talking earlier. It's just like you're trying to say all these things in like these little 15-second little increments. And you're looking at all these people on Instagram and all these people over here on TikTok. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? And you just start comparing yourself. And it goes into this like crazy downward spiral. And like, here's Jen.
Right.
I will help get you out of that downward spiral, basically, is what it comes down to. And that's kind of how I started. And it's been 3 or so years. And I love it. I
Yeah.
think back to that time and I'm like, oh, you poor little thing. You are not in a good place, girl.
Right. And it's like, there's just a better way, like, and when you're in it, it is so real. So if you're in like what she just described as your current reality, it feels so hard and heavy and it's never going to end. And I'm all by myself and what's wrong with me? And I must be crazy because this person over here, like you said, has 5 kids and they're crushing it. And I'm over here with one. And like, it just can be such a lonely time when you're in that season. So thank you for just being willing to share that. Because I know there's someone who's listening who might be in that season right now. And 2 things that I heard in your story. One is you decided, like you made a decision to get help. And I think that's a big step, especially for mompreneurs. We like to believe we wear a cape. We like to believe that we should just be big enough to put our bigger panties on and deal with it and like just keep going by ourselves. It's like, we kind of wear that badge of honor that like I'm dependable, independent. I'm also dependable, like all the things. So you decided to ask for help. And the second thing that I heard in your story was there was some shift that happened pretty quickly for you. So I'd love for you to kind of talk about that when you hired the coach. Like, what was the shift that you had? Was there one shift in a mindset you had, like that just in 1 month made all of these things turn on a dime? And they really just did a 180. So kind of explain that. I think first, like, because it's not easy decision to get help. I know a lot of women who are listening today on the podcast, that's where they're at. They're where you are, but there's still this hesitation or resistance to either investing in themselves to get the help they need or to feel worthy of getting the support. And they kind of have this like, I should be able to just do this by myself. So can you speak to that woman? Because you were her, right?
Yeah, it's like I knew deep down that I had what it takes. Like there was no chance that I was going to fail. Like I'm okay with failing, but I
Mm-hmm.
would never consider myself a failure.
Right.
And I knew with every inch of my being is that I knew I could figure it out. Like I how do I even put this? I just it was just like a knowing. But
Mm-hmm.
once I decided to get help, it's just like you think about it, it's just like nothing great was ever created alone. It's like,
Yeah.
what makes me think that I'm so much better than everyone else that I can do it on my own?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just more of an ego and like a significance thing and
Mm-hmm.
like a need to feel like I got this
Yeah.
because that's who I grew up as. It's like just you do what you got to do. I've got a lot of integrity. I've got the drive
Yeah. Yeah.
and I can just figure it out on my own. And it's just like when you think about it, it's like, okay, John, how many years are you going to let this
Mm.
figuring out on your own go? It's just and it's just like I heard it one day. It's just like nothing great is ever created alone. It's like you think about it, it's like, okay, exactly how many businesses have one person working for them? How many? Like zero, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe in the very beginning stages, and even just like something simple like hiring a VA to create your graphics.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like I was even hiring the babysitters and like all that stuff didn't even work because it was my mindset that was like so scattered and like all over the place. And here's the thing that was a turning point too. Before I hired a coach, I was focused on what I didn't have, what
Mm.
I still needed, and what I needed more of and like what was still missing.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on like where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to help, how I wanted to get there. And
Yeah.
it's just like as soon as I started focusing on what I wanted versus what I didn't yet have, it's just like it was tunnel and I just went.
Yeah. I think that's so powerful because I do think I had another interview earlier today. We were just talking about the vision, right? Like when we're kids, like we let ourselves go there and think about what we want and who we want to be. And there's like all this imagination, there's all these dreams, there's no life experience to tell us to sit down and be quiet or that's too big or who are you to dream that? Like there's none of that happens when you're a kid for the most part. Most childhood, it's like, I want to be a ninja. I'm going to be a ninja. That was something my son said on a dream board. It's like, I want to be a ninja, mom. And I'm like, I thought it was amazing, that it was like, I can believe I can be a ninja, and then somewhere along the way, like that gets lost, especially as moms and as entrepreneurs. And it's almost like, I don't know if you see this with your clients, but I see this like, it's selfish for me to even think about what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So then you are just focused on what I don't have versus you said, as soon as it switched for you and you started focusing on what you wanted, then it was like you got your brain in the right place to like create that result for yourself. But some women, a lot of the women that I work with, like they are moving so fast, they haven't even slowed down long enough to think about or give themselves permission.
Mm-hmm.
Ask the question, like, what do I really want here? It's all others focused. It's
Yeah.
all pouring out to other people. And so I think that's a big piece of it too.
And when did it become not okay to like want stuff? It's like, why can't we just want things and have it be okay? Like, what
Yeah.
is wrong with wanting stuff? There's nothing wrong with wanting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just, it's become such a thing where I have to make sure everyone is taken care of first and then me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just like you're in an airplane and that's not what they teach you. They tell you to put your mask on first.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, it's just like, how can I be happy? Because I was not happy. I like wanted to burn everything to the ground. How can I be happy now, even if I don't have all these things yet?
Yeah.
And when I started showing up as, it's like one of the things that I did is I started to rewire my mind in the morning, like starting. Here's what's funny. I used to, okay, so my morning routine, okay, consisted of shuffling over to the coffee pot, pouring coffee, getting my son breakfast, turning on the Today Show, only for the first hour though. I would only allow myself to watch the Today Show for the first hour because I felt like I needed to know what was going on in the world. I needed
Yeah.
to know about the hurricanes. I needed to know who was missing. I needed to know all those things. And even though consciously I knew that that news wasn't good for my brain,
Yeah.
I didn't stop. Like it's like it was just like that's how I grew up. I grew up with my parents always watching the news.
Yeah.
But now it's just like when I look at my morning routine, I'm like, good Lord, Jen, what are you doing? Because now my morning routine consists of a morning activation that I throw in my ears first thing when I get out of bed. I don't even look at social media because looking at social media before I get my son off to school is like checking in on everyone else's problems instead of looking at what I have to do, and it's just
Yeah.
like I rewired my brain to like put on my mask first so
Yeah.
that I can help everybody else.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
without my own mindset being exactly where it needs to be, shit's going to hit the fan. It always does. And
Yeah.
am I going to choose to spiral with it or am I going to grow above it? And that was one of the biggest things for me is I just changed what I did in the morning and
Yeah.
at night too, but
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't watching daylight before bed.
So tell me about that process because I do think like people, they have the knowledge of these things that are probably not the most healthy habits in the morning, right? Like you said, getting on social media first thing in the morning, watching the news or, before they know it, it's an hour they've just been mindlessly scrolling on social media. So any of those things, like I think people know that's probably not the most healthy thing to do before bed or when you first thing you wake up in the morning, but it's become this habit. It's become this just thing that we do. So you talked about like rewiring your brain to create some new things. Can you talk to us a little bit about that process?
When you get up in the morning, your brain is at a state where you're able to receive suggestions without part of your brain being like, no, that's not true. So, like, for instance, if I was broke and I listened to a recording right now saying, you are wealthy, you are wealthy, you are wealthy, my brain's going to be like, oh, sister, have you checked your bank account? You are definitely not wealthy. And so
Yeah.
there's that part of your brain that's going to negate that affirmations. And this is why I feel so strongly about affirmations and how they don't work the way people think they do is because you're doing them in the wrong time of the day when your brain is in the wrong state. So when you put your brain in a state, like right when you wake up in the morning, like when you're still really groggy, you're like brushing your teeth, I throw in headphones to like rewire my minds for the thoughts that I want
Mhm.
before things happen throughout my day that give me the thoughts that are going to come my way. And I
Right.
do the same thing at nighttime. And it's just like whatever you marinate on right before bed, that's what your brain thinks about as you're sleeping.
Mhm.
So, do I want to watch a murder mystery before I'm going to bed or the news or something like that? Or do I want to listen to something that's going to put positive suggestions into my mind? And
Right.
I got into like subconscious mindset work and hypnosis
Mhm.
and things like that. And it makes so much sense and it doesn't take a long time versus if you're just like reciting like these affirmations. I used to write pages of affirmations in a notebook. Like I am
Yeah.
wealthy, I am this, I am that. And like literally nothing changed. 0% things changed, but you put those suggestions into your brain when your brain is in that theta wave state. And it's
Yeah.
just like there's not that negative or that negating of that part of your brain that's negating the affirmation and it works so much better.
So morning time and evening before you go to bed, is that when you're saying like if they have their like I am statements or affirmations or
Yep.
ever, like those are the best times to do that?
Yep, absolutely. You can also do things like during the middle of the day, but you have to do something like hypnosis to be able to relax your mind first and then do the affirmation. So it's like a recording that I would listen to if I was going to do it in the middle of the day. That's
Yeah.
why hypnosis works so well. It's because it takes away that wall, that part of your brain that will reject every single suggestion that it has. Because
Yeah.
it's just that part of your brain that constantly is like running. And when it's not running anymore, then those suggestions can come in and actually do their job.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting. I know that a couple of times, or not a couple of times, but recently I've had some conversations with some of the mompreneurs that I coach. And I think that would be super helpful for them in the transition. So what I mean by that is when they're transitioning from whether they work a corporate job 9 to 5 or they're working from home, but transitioning from CEO into mom and then from mom into wife, like there's, we just go from boom, 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 one thing to the next. And like one of my clients was saying, I just find myself, I'm sitting across the table looking at my husband and I'm not even really listening to what he's saying because my brain is still thinking about what I was doing at work, right? And so
Hmm.
we've just been talking about how to make that transition and not to have the expectation that you can just, flip like that. So I don't know if you have any suggestions for that because that's been coming up a lot on my coaching calls. We've been working through that. So I'd love to hear kind of what do you do to transition the roles?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. First of all, before you enter a new room, when you have to take off one hat and put on
Yeah.
another, you give yourself 60 seconds to just,
Mm,
take off one hat and put on another. And no one, I shouldn't say no one, not many people give themselves that 60 seconds, 3 minutes or whatever to just be and
hmm.
to just think because we're always in the do, 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 do. What do I have to do next? What do I got to get done? La, 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 la.
Yeah.
And instead, just calm yourself and just decide who you want to be when you walk into the next room.
Yeah.
Because when you go from one room to another and you've got all these things that are happening from your job, it's like you're bringing all that into the next room.
Yeah.
But it's just giving yourself just 60 seconds sitting in the car
Yeah.
and just decompressing from whatever and deciding who you want to be as you walk into that new room. It'll change everything for you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's such a powerful point that it doesn't have to be 60 minutes. It
No.
can really be 60 seconds of a pause. And I do think we get into this, well, if I don't have an hour to transition or 30 minutes of transition, like what's the point? It's a waste of time. But just a small thing, like you just said, can make a huge difference to who you are when you walk in that room.
Hmm. There's also something that I do for nervous system regulation. When I learned about nervous system regulation, it went in one ear out the other. But now that I've gotten more into it, like I do tapping a lot, EFT tapping, and think back, it's just like I had so much anxiety and so much stress and so much like nervous energy, and it's just like a dysregulated nervous system,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now, like before I started work today, I just did like a round of tapping and it just shut off all the noise that was around me and I was able to focus on what it is that I wanted to do. And it took 3 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can you explain for the listeners like what it means to be dysregulated in your nervous system? Because this has come up a couple of times too when I've said it to people and they look like deer in headlights. They don't understand what that means. Like once I start describing it to them, like, oh, okay, yeah, but they didn't really know what to name it. So can you
Yeah.
just describe for people like what is that?
It's just what that feeling when you're not calm and you're in fight, flight, or freeze mode.
Okay.
So when you think that, like harm is in your way or like you're not doing something or you have to do all these things or to-do list and you just like you get that into that like that anxious feeling where you could just feel it in your chest
Yeah.
and just, for especially for mompreneurs, it's just like that always to going the go, 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 go. And you
Yeah.
just don't give yourself enough time to just do nothing.
Yeah.
And when you are able to regulate that, calm, peace is normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like it'll just happen because you snapped your fingers. Like you have to make it happen. But does it, take 2-3 minutes to do? Absolutely. It doesn't take an hour. It doesn't take
Yeah.
5 minutes. And it's just something so easy that you can do that when you switch from that person to this person, it's just like, not many people have so much time to meditate or anything like that, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what it feels like. It's just like you feel so calm and relaxed. And like now I can go back into the rest of my day because those people that are waiting on the other side of the room for you, it's like they don't want,
Yeah.
your 9 to 5
Yeah.
crap to come in.
Yeah.
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 So it's really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, they deserve what's best of you, just like you gave your business your best instead of what's left of you. And a lot of times when you're not taking that time to transition, like they're just kind of getting the leftover version because you're just exhausted
Yeah,
and bring, like
exactly.
you said, all the other stuff in there with you. So that's a really good point. What other ways do you find people just like regulate their nervous system? I know you talked about the tapping and the EFT, but are there other things that work for people if they're like, I'm not sure I want to do that? Is there other things they can do to help regulate that nervous system? Hey, friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not in 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
When I started coaching with Martine, I was extremely burned out, overwhelmed, very stressed, and I knew I needed to make some changes. So I reached out, and over the course of time, she helped me realize that I needed to take back control of my schedule, create boundaries. And then along the way, I had a huge transition in my business, and she helped me figure out my next steps and help me structure a new business. And she's been there for me and been able to help guide me with her advice and her knowledge. Without her, I could not be where I am today.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martinewilliams.com with free times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show.
One of the things that I used to think is that I will rest on the weekends. I will rest when my son goes to bed. I will rest later. Right now, I don't have time. Mm-hmm. But what we don't realize is that rest is actually part of the recipe.
Yeah.
And when I'm sitting at my desk and I've got all these things to do and I've got a list and all these whatever, and you just start to feel like that anxious feeling, it's just like sometimes I'll just go for a walk around the block. Or like there's times where I'll just go in nature. Like we have a forest preserve near us. I'll just go like on a mile walk, in nature. And it's just like you turn your brain off. And when you stop thinking about all the things, that's when those downloads come in. I love nature walks because it's just like those things that I'm trying to figure out that seem so hard. Yeah. It's just like, boop.
Yeah.
That's why you get shower ideas all the time. It's just because your brain turns off.
It's so true. I have those aqua notes in my shower, the waterproof notepad, because I call it the revelation tank. Like it literally, some of my best ideas and quotes and thoughts come in the shower. And so I had to put that notebook in there because I probably will forget it by the time I get out of the shower.
1,000%. I'm so mad I didn't think of that idea first.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy, but it's so true. It's like when you do that, you give space.
Yeah.
When you're like going from one thing, there's no space for those things to be downloaded.
Yeah. What I do now is I put intentional white space on my calendar so that I can do stuff like that because otherwise I'll fill it up right away.
Yeah.
It'll get filled up. So just like like I went for a 3-mile walk with my dog this morning and it was just, it doesn't happen right away because, me, I'm like, okay, brain, turn off. I gotta relax, but then after a while you just stop thinking and you're like, oh, that's the name I should have for my podcast. Like I've been thinking about it for 3 months and all of a sudden like bing comes right into my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, if you have rest on your calendar as part of your week or part of your day or whatever it is, it's just like, that's part of the recipe that most people forget.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of the plan. It's productive, like re-believing or rethinking about rest as a productive part of your success plan.
Yeah. Because you put a mom with her feet up, it's just like, okay, what are you not doing right now? Like, you have to be doing something. Why are your feet up? Like, get working. Yeah. So, like, I sat down, like it was 2:00 last Saturday, and I was, like, in a recliner reading a book. I'm like, what is this life? How is this even happening? It's 2:00 on a Saturday, and I'm reading the stinking book. Fiction, no less,
Right.
And it's just like...
It's not a personal development or a...
No! There is not a highlighter around. It's just like, wow, this is what it's like,
Yeah, it is so nice. And once you start realizing how productive it really is, and you just have to give yourself that time to investigate and be curious about it, what maybe your thoughts and beliefs were before about rest, or what even has been told to you about rest. I think we're kind of coming out of it a little bit more, but there for a while, it was such a hustle culture. Oh. You got to hustle really hard, or you can't be successful, or, sacrificing everything on the altar of success. And I do feel like we're starting to swing it back to like, no, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Not.
Sacrifice now so you don't have to later. It's like, if I heard that one more time. I'm sacrificing so much. What else is there?
Right. Right. And there are sacrifices, but you get to decide which ones those are and for how
Yeah.
long.
Of
Right.
course, it's not like an easy uphill,
No.
thing. And
Yeah.
you have to make decisions that are best for you. But what decisions are you going to make that's actually going to help you get out of your own way and help you do what it is that you want to do that aren't, it's like that's I feel the same thing about like to-do lists. It's like to-do list is like checking off everyone else's things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, well, what are you having rest on your to-do list? Like, what about the rest?
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Of course you have to have priorities and you've got to get things done, like the grocery shopping and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to your business, it's like I stopped writing to-do lists because it's just like you never feel fulfilled. And at the end of the night, and you're looking at your list, it's like, oh, I still didn't get it all done. Well, it's like you never will. You're
Yeah.
never going to get everything done.
Yeah.
And it's just like it leaves you this feeling of just having so much overwhelm. And it's just like when you sit down with a brain full of overwhelm and you're going to get your stuff done, it's just like you don't even know what to do because you've got 85,000 things that are swirling around in your mind. And then that puts you into a state of, okay, now I'm overwhelmed and I'm going to take the next 30 minutes, put myself in a scroll hole to relax.
Yeah.
When in fact, when it comes to overwhelm, it's just like, what's the one thing you want to do? What's your outcome today? And what's the one thing you can do right now that's going to drive you in the direction of that outcome?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like all these like little piddly things like making Canva graphics and like, uploading things and downloading and all that just takes the back seat because it's not directly related to what you want to get done today or your outcome today.
I think that's such an important point. I feel like I could just say it and I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over again. That requires someone to slow down. That requires us to really get clear on what is important right now in this season. What is my overall goal and vision for where I'm going in the next week? I mean, if you can only plan a week out and plan a week out, like you don't have to do 3 years, 5-year plans. Like I don't, I haven't done those consistently in my life, but I do know what are the most important things today. But the only way you know that is to know the overall goal and believing that you can become the person that does those things. Because I was having a call the other day with a client who I think she really just has this belief that she'll never be able to manage her time. And I told her, I said, I could give you all the systems in the world and all the strategies, and you probably have tried every planner and every strategy. But if you hold the belief that you are a person who cannot manage your time, you're going to be a person who doesn't manage your time, right? And that takes a slow down too, to really think about what you're thinking about yourself and what are you saying to yourself on a regular basis about who you are as a business owner, who you are as a mompreneur, who you are as a mom. And we just don't take the time to slow down and do that work, most of us, and we don't take the time to slow down and really get clear on, okay, I have all of this stuff to do, but what is the most important thing for me to do? It all feels like a priority, which means nothing really is.
Yeah.
That's where the overwhelm comes from.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure. And like even just like the language that we use to describe our experience, it becomes our experience. And it's just like for someone this is, I'll never be able to find the time. It's like, of course not. Of course not, because did you hear what you just said?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no like me back in the day is like there's no cracks in the day. Like of course I couldn't find cracks because I was telling myself there's no cracks in the day. But what if there were cracks? Where would they be? Would be a better question.
Yeah.
If there was time, how would that fit into my day?
Yep.
Just ask yourself better questions.
Yep.
But you have to be like a person that's really ready to like dig into, realizing that words have such power.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to the point where like things come off my mouth. I'm like, okay, now is that actually a true statement or is that just a story that I'm making up? And like stopping yourself dead in your tracks and kind of just dissecting it and be like, okay, is that true for everybody? Or is it just true because I'm feeling like a piece of, what?
Yeah.
And just, be so, it's like so self-aware.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is just, it's so huge. Like if you would have told me this 4 years ago, I'm like, I'm fine. Fine.
Yeah. I'm good. I don't need that self-awareness stuff is fluff. I was actually talking to some clients today. I'm like, this feels fluffy probably to most of you who are like, give me the to-do list. I said, but this is the important work. This is the foundational work of your success is self-awareness, what you're thinking about what you're thinking about, reframing your thoughts, all of those things. And it's just not something we're taught, Jen. I mean, we don't talk about it. I mean, you, like you said, I mean, you were in a totally different frame of mind 3 years ago. you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so but it's never too late to learn the skill set of managing your brain, managing your thoughts, and doing some reframe work there.
Yeah.
You can start that today, and maybe they'll be inspired after hearing you and I talk. One of the things that I know you talk about or kind of help with is that the fear element. So there's a lot of fear that comes in, whether it's even just learning about self-awareness. There's a fear factor, and they're like, well, do I really want to know what I truly think of myself? Am I going to beat myself up? Or fear of failure? Like, can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the fears that you've had and how you've worked through some of those?
I'm afraid every day, literally every day. Before I came on your podcast, I had a little, shiver running up my spine. I'm like, okay, I was afraid, but it's a muscle like anything else. And
Yeah.
one thing I ask myself, I'm like, okay, is there going to be a saber-toothed tiger coming down the hallway and eating me? No. What exactly is the worst that's going to happen? And how can I move through this fear and actually do it anyway? Because it's literally just like lifting weights. Of course, you're not going to go, do something super scary, the first thought of it. But at the same time, it's just like you can take little steps and action towards what it is that you want. And knowing that there's always going to be fear, and it's not that you ignore it or push it away. It's just instead, it's dancing with it. And this came to me. I was at a Tony Robbins event a couple years ago, and we were talking about fear. And this thought came to me. I'm like, it's not that you're pushing it away, and it's not that it's not there. You're just learning how to dance with it instead of letting it control you. And that's literally all it is.
Yep. Yep. Not being afraid of the fear, not fearing the fear, or fearing the discomfort, feeling emotionally safe to hold that feeling, to hold that emotion, but not let it control you.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge distinction, because the thought is, well, I just need to not be afraid. Well, I mean, that's not life. That's not reality. We're all going to have fears. Like you said, you're fearful every day.
Mm-hmm.
You're not letting it drive your car. You're not letting it driver's seat. It's just, I always tell my clients, I'm like, it's buckled in the back seat in a car seat. It's very safe. It's back there in the back. It's not even in the front seat with me. It's not even my co-pilot. It's in the back, and I'm going to let it ride along with me, and I'm going to tell it I see it, but I'm not going to let it stop me from what I need to do.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the visual I like to think of, like a toddler, toddler having a temper tantrum. I'm not going to drop it on the side of the road while I have all my other errands to run. I'm just going to make sure he's buckled in the back seat of my car. He's safe. He can have his temper tantrum if he wants, but I'm going to keep going on with my day and keep, going towards my goals. So I kind of think fear is the same way. It's just a toddler having a tantrum, and he's safe back there.
Yeah. And if you're waiting for fear to not be there before you take action, it's just like you'll be waiting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. It's scary. Yeah. It's scary. It's a different, no one taught us how to be an entrepreneur not in my school. No one taught us how to be seen, in junior year of high school. And it's just, it's scary. It's putting yourself out there. It's willing to be judged and, not letting it, throw you.
Yeah.
And it's just like a muscle that you just have to grow. And it's just like, lifting weights. It's like, you're not going to lift a 50-pound weight on the first day, but you can lift 5.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And you just get stronger and stronger each time. You got to get the reps in.
Yeah.
If someone's listening today and they're kind of, this is a time of year where they were excited, they set their goals, and now some of that motivation is waning. Some of the excitement around their goals is waning. Maybe they're just like feeling stuck and they're ready to just throw in the towel, or they're like, I've hit a block and I don't know how to move forward. What would you say to them to kind of help them get unstuck?
The way most people set goals is very different than the way I was taught. And the way I used to set goals, I would be super excited, by the second week of January, but by Valentine's Day, I'm like, wait, what did I want again? I forgot. It was usually some arbitrary number that didn't mean anything. Yeah. And it's like, sure, 5K months sound great. Sure, 10K months sound great. But what does it actually give you?
Yeah.
And when you tie what you want to the value it provides, that's the motivation. It's the motivation where you don't need an event to pump you up. It's like you don't need, a high cash month in order to make you feel good. You don't need like all these things to fall into place in order to have a great week. It's just like you just feel fulfilled because it's fulfilling a value that's really, really personal to you. So
Yeah.
now when I goal set with my clients, that's the first thing we do is we elicit their values. Like what's most important to you? And once we know what's most important to you and what it gives you when you have it, then we set goals.
Yeah.
And so, sure, 10K months sounds great, but what does that actually give you? And when you can drill it down to the actual need or the value that it gives you,
Yeah.
doing that, it's so much more motivating where you don't need all those extra things to motivate you. It's just, you just are.
Yeah. 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 Gets down to more of that like deeper emotional reason why. Like I always say, reasons equal results.
Yeah.
Really get to that compelling reason, like you say, and what's most important to you now, not what we see everyone else setting goals for. Like that might not even be an important goal for you, but you're just doing it because everyone else is doing it. Are
That's
you supposed
exactly
to do
it.
it, right? And then it's
Yes.
like, it sounded good in January, but now I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't really know if I want that anymore.
Do I actually want it, or does so and so say that that's the next step? It's like that's what was me when I was in network marketing. It's like I didn't actually even want that. That's just what I was told was the next step.
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense as to why it didn't end up working out because it wasn't fulfilling and it didn't, it lit me up like externally, but on the inside, it like was not fulfilling whatsoever. And it just like, it was only a matter of time that it was going to come crashing down. It's just because it just didn't fulfill my highest values.
Yeah. So tell everyone what you're most excited about right now and just the work that you're doing. Do you have anything going on that you're really excited about, or where can they connect with you? All the things.
I'm launching my dream planner. Like I've got
Oh,
85,000 planners and I've got 85,000 that have gotten like 2 pages written in them. Like I would never use them. I'm like, because they don't make sense they don't make sense. They don't make sense. And like, I don't need to write down my water. Like some people do. I don't need to write down my water. It's like, so I created my own, NLP based, brain based planner and it's going to be out in like 2 weeks. I'm so excited.
that is
So
so
that's one
awesome.
thing I'm working on. I am launching a podcast as well. And I'm doing a lot of guest hosting in master classes and like things like this, like speaking
Yeah.
engagements,
Yeah.
and moving away from you and I talked about it, like the 15-second stories. It's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so tunnel vision, like this is how it has to be done, where it's like, is it?
Yeah.
Is it really the only way?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's just it feels so good because it's like I feel like I can talk. Like I'm not in this box anymore. I've been in such a box, trying to use the exact right word to get this outcome. It's just like I just want to talk. It's
Yeah.
like Jen Unleashed now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm most excited for now in 2025.
Well, my listeners know this, but I took about 9 months off of social media last year. So and it was amazing. And I am going to come back in 2025. Be a different level of being back. But like you, like I know when I get the opportunity to really talk about the things that I know my audience is struggling with and to be able to help them with and not being wrapped up in going viral or all the other things. And for some people they love the drive, they love that challenge, but for me I found that it became very like a creative block for me. Like
Yes.
I didn't give me any space to really freely think. I'm like, okay, what are my natural strengths? My natural strength is talking to people, connecting with people. So how can I create opportunities for people to really engage with me versus a chance they might see a 15-second clip on Instagram,
Yes.
So I totally get that with you. And I will say I became fully booked with clients being off of social media, which blows everyone's mind and blew my own mind because there was a belief there, right? That's where all your business is going to come from, or you got to be on social media. I'm like, no, I filled out my practice not being on social.
Oh
So
my gosh, I love that so much. It's just like when you give your, it's when you give yourself space to think. Like, look
yeah,
at the things that come in. It's
yep,
crazy.
yeah, it is. It is.
I love that.
Well, I can't wait to see your planner because I'm like you. I think I have like, I don't know how many half-filled planners. And I finally just bought this thing yesterday. It's literally just like a one this week. And it's got everything on one piece of paper. And when I'm done with that week, I just rip it off and throw it away. So I was just using a legal pad because I'm
Yeah.
like, I need all the fancy stuff. Like I just need a piece of paper with a few things on it. Um,
Mhm.
So, but I'm always going to check out another planner. So you'll have to let me know when it comes out.
I love the planner that I actually use. I'm so excited to be able to use one past 3 months of time.
Yes. There are lots of people laughing right now because they can totally relate to that. Like the first year, like, oh, there's nothing like a fresh planner. And then like February, March comes, you're like, where is that planner?
Planner's not going to change your life.
Right.
But it will keep you on track, so you can see what you're doing versus what you're not doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us again where they can connect with you.
It's funny that you say that because right now I'm still on Instagram, just not as much as I normally have been. So I would say probably my website.
Okay.
I've got an actual morning mindset audio that would be awesome for people that are struggling with wanting more positive thoughts in the morning.
Okay.
So the audio that I was talking about, I actually recorded it and I made it available for everybody else. And I think right now it's just going to be Instagram until I can get away from that. But I always check it. Like I'm there.
Yeah. And then your website is
JenLemke.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. We'll put links to all that in the show notes. So as we wrap up, like what, if you could leave the mompreneurs with just one final thought, what comes to mind for you that you would want them to know?
I think it's more of just something to do is just go and create white space because it will literally change so much and you just have no idea. And so many people have such an unwillingness to do it. And we're needed in so many different areas of life. And if like just a sitter for an hour so you can go get out in nature and like just decompress. I think that's just the homework that I want everybody to do is just go build in some white space on their calendar so that they can just let all the good stuff come in. All the questions that they're asking are all on the other side of letting go of all those thoughts and just letting all that get out of there and just download all the stuff that they need to know, all the stuff they need to learn.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
More white space in 2025, please.
Yes. 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 And if you haven't tried it, that's like everything else. Don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
I think be shocked.
Yeah.
Be shocked.
From the girl that was watching the Today Show and needed to know where the hurricane was at. And now I'm like putting white space on my calendar. Like there's a lot that's changed just from changing your thoughts.
Yeah. 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 Well, thank you so much for coming on. We could talk forever. You're so easy to talk to.
Yes. Thank you
for sharing your story. And we will all be excited to see this plan that's coming out and your podcast.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, friends. We'll catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.